So, good afternoon everyone, especially to our instructor, Mr. Roger Anthony Gamali. Today I am going to discuss the topics that I have choose that I have choose. So, the first topic that I have to discuss is the collection of specimen to be examined. Collection of the specimen to be examined. The proper collection, preservation, and transportation of specimens are essential in the investigation of a crime. Hence, whenever possible, the chemist should personally collect all the specimens necessary for the examination. This particular stage of forensic chemist work is essential as questions regarding the collection, preservation, and transportation of the specimen and raised during the court. So there are there are three factors that factors that must be considered when collecting for examination. Collecting a specimen for examination. The letter A is sufficiency of samples. So, as much as possible, the investigators should collect sufficient amount of specimen for examination. This will make the chemist confident that in the case downfall result, he or she can still have enough samples to repeat or to proceed to the succeeding examination. So sufficiency of samples. So as as the evidence as the investigator or evidence collector, you need to have more evidence that that to collect during in the crime scene to make to to make the chemist confident that in case of downfall, he or she can still enough samples to repeat or to proceed the succeeding of examination. So the letter B is standard of comparison. When the evidence in question is located or added with the foreign substance, a sample of such foreign substance must be submitted for analysis. For instance, if blood is found in the linoleum, linoleum, a sample of the unstained linoleum must be submitted together with the stained portion. In cases of adulteration or unfair trade competition, a genuine sample must be submitted for comparison in the examination of hair, textile, fiber, soil, etc. So, in the standard for comparison is the evidence that they examined of this is like blood, hair, or soil, etc. Standard sample. So the next is letter C, maintenance of individuality. Each piece of evidence must be collected and preserved as a separate sample. There must be no mixing or intermingling of specimens collected from different locations, as well as those of standard specimens. So, maintenance of individuality. As an investigator or the the evidence collector, you need to separate the important evidence and or just an object in the crime scene. You need to separate. You need to there must be no mixing. Then the next is letter D, labeling and sealing. It is unwell It is a well settled rule that evidence have no value in court in spite of in spite of the good report of the expert. If the specimen cannot be identified by reason of improper labeling, hence its sample must be labeled properly. Small fragments should be enclosed in proper specimen boxes container, and the boxes should be sealed. The label should include information concerning the nature of the source of the sample, date, time, collection, case number, if any, and name of the person collecting the samples. So, label, labeling and sealing. So, as an investigator, and as an investigator, you need to label and seal the evidence and write down write write the time or date that that when or where you found the evidence, and you need to have write the case number if and the name of the person collecting the evidence. So the next is actual examination of specimen. The first step in the examination is an article is to scrutinize carefully and write down the laboratory logbook record book logbook record book, a complete description of the external appearance including the manner in which is secured and particular sealing. If possible, take a photograph of the specimen including the inner wrappers and take note its description. So, in the first step of in the examination is you need to put a record book, and then write a description that write description on the evidence that you have collected. So if possible, you must need to take a photograph of a specimen including the inner wrapper and you need to take note the description. So the second step of examination is to measure the weight the weight the weight the object, and all measurement and weights should be entered in the laboratory logbook or record book. So in the second step is, as the evidence collector or investigator, you need to chemist as the chemist chemist as the investigator or evidence collector, you need to know what the weight of the evidence that being examined on, or the measure. You need to i-appeal na nimo siya og kanang logbook. So the third step is the laboratory examination, which consists of the chemical, physical, com- confirmatory test. The third step is the laboratory examination, which consists the chemical physical confirmation test the, that found in the crime scene. So the next is communication of the result of the examination. The result of the examination conducted should be communicated with the requesting party in the form of the written report, which must include the enumeration of facts on the specimen received from examination with detailed description of packaging and sealing and labeling date receipt whom it was received for the purpose of examination. Communication of the result of the examination. Then the next is court appearance. The written report the forensic chemist, is usually supplemented by the testimonial evidence in a later date if the case is brought to the court of fiscal office, since testimonial evidence may be given weeks, months, or even years after examination and the written report have been made. It is not only permissible but indispensable that chemist should refresh his memory by referring to his laboratory record book before presenting himself in court. Surgery report Michigan is usually submitted. So next is role of forensic chemist in scientific investigation. A forensic chemist, as a man of science, performs laboratory examination on physical evidence submitted to the crime laboratory in order to expedite the investigation of the crime by the investigating party. He or she has the following responsibilities. Number one is conduct qualitative and quantitative to determine of abused drugs as well as the volatile substance. So, as the forensic chemist, they need to know the quality and the quantity of the evidence. Then the second is conduct chemical examination of explosive and or explosive ingredients. So if there is an bomb or can or any explosive device, they need to examine the ingredients that the that they found in the that they found in the crime scene. So number 3 is conducts examination paraffin cast and firearms to determine the presence of the gunpowder nitrates. Conducts conduct examination. So they need to conduct examination of firearms that they found that they found in the crime scene. Number 4. Conducts gunpowder examination on clothing for possible gunshot range. So you need to, they examine also the gunpowder for in order to know that the range of the gunshot. So and then number 5 is conduct chemical toxicological examination of human external organs, gastric contents, blood, water, food sample, and other substance. So they need to conduct chemical toxicological examination of human external organs, contains blood, water, food sample, or other substance. Then number 6 is conduct examination of fake products in cases of unfair trade competition. So they examine the the evidence the evidence that they found in the crime scene to in order that they will know that that if that if the that if that evidence is not just tinanim lang nilagay na conduct then the number 7 is conducts blood alcohol determination. Then the number 8 examine urine samples or other body fluids for the presence of abuse urine. They examine then examine lang kanang urine is kanang in Bisaya is murag ihi na siguro. Then the number 9 is conduct researcher related to cases being examined. Then the number 10 is testifies and gives expert opinion in court. Then gives expert opinion in court, give lectures on forensic chemistry and chemical toxicology, various school, universities, police training centers, investigation. Then the number 12, the last is responds to queries of all investigation unit and render expert opinion on matters related to the application of chemical principles for the purpose of assisting investigators to develop investigative leads. So then the next is the 6 golden rules in the practice of forensic chemistry. Number 1 is go slowly. Good work cannot be hurried. Therefore, take all time necessary to make case complete, no matter how urgent may appear. So you need, as an investigator or the forensic chemist, is you need to go slowly. Then no matter how, what we call that in organs. Then the number 2 is be true. Make careful and minute examination of everything that and do not be satisfied with the quantitative analysis. If the quantitative one is possible, it always pays to do much rather than too little, and it is difficult to foresee what will or will not be required in court. So you need to be as the forensic chemist, you need to make careful, and you need to at take your time to examine of everything. Then do not be satisfied. then then don't be satisfied of one what with a quantitative analysis. Then the number three is take notes. Keep a full, neat, clean record of everything seen and done. So you need at a forensic chemist, you need to keep full, neat, and clean. You need to record it clean. You need to record it clean. And number four is consult others. Many cases will lead the expert into paths with which he has not familiar. When this happens, he should consult those who know better. So as the forensic chemist, you need to consult the other expert in that cases in order to in order to have idea about kung unsaon nimo bitaw pag. Then the number five is use imagination. An expert with a wide and controllable imagination is considered as the most dangerous creature. Though his being imaginative is sometimes useful, an expert witness that does not have to be solely imaginative, but he has to be skilled in field forensic science. He must bear witness within the limits of science. And so, as a forensic chemist, you need to have an imagination. Avoid. The last one is avoid complicated theories. The simplest explanation is fundamentally the right one. Interpretation of the result is often the most difficult part of the expert's task. That is why a wide knowledge and scientific experience are essential elements to obtain the right forensic examination result. And the next is chapter 3. So, chapter 3, the development of the scientific crime laboratory in the Philippines. So, number 1, February 14, 1829, massacre occurred in Chicago. So, then a group of public-minded individuals was responsible for the establishment of a scientific crime laboratory in that city, which today has marked its place in historical annals of police science. So, in February 14, massacre occurred in Chicago. So, there are public-minded individuals that create a scientific crime to examine the dead bodies that or the or the victims in the massacre. They studied the body. Back lang. Then March 31. Then the next is March 31, 1876. Creation of Medicus Titularis. Creation of Medicus Titularis by virtue of royal decree number 188 of Spain. For every province has uh, for every province a forensic physician was assigned to perform public sanitary duties, at the same time provide medical legal aids to administration of justice. In March 31, 1876, the creation of titulars by virtue of Spain. Then the next is December 15, 1884. Governor General Joaquin Habelier was created a committee. Governor General Joaquin Habelier created a committee to study mineral waters of Luzon and appointed Anacleto del Rosario as a chemist. So he appointed he created a committee to study the mineral waters of Luzon. Then he appointed Anacleto de Rosario as a chemist to study September 13, 1887. Establishment of Laboratorio Municipal de Manila under the inspection of the Direction of General Administration Civil and the control of the Gobierno de Provincias. So the function of this is not only for a laboratory to make analyze food, water, or others from the standpoint of the public health and legal medicine, but also of a specimen of clinical purposes. So the next is 1894. Laboratorial Medico Legal was created under the dependency of judicial branch of the government, and the laboratory functioning under the direction of the physician assisted by the pharmacist chemist. Then the next is Antonio Luna established a clinical laboratory where some original works of chemistry were done. Then this is the cause of the were paralyzed as a result of the revolution in 1896. Then the next is 1899. The first scientific laboratory was established in a small building of the banks of Pasig River. Then the next is 1901. actual scientific work began under the initiative of Dean C. Worcester by virtue of Act Number 156 approved by Civil Commission. Then the next is July 1, 1901. The Bureau of Government Laboratories was created for the purpose of performing biological and chemical examinations as well as for the production of vaccines and sera. Then the next is March 11, 1915. Department of Legal Medicine was created. Then the next is October 14, 1924, through the passage of Act Number 3043 by the Philippine Legislature, the same Department of Legal Medicine became a branch of the Department of Justice and at the same time an integral part of the University of the Philippines. Then December 1, 1937, the Division of Investigation was created under the Commonwealth Act Number 181 with 2 medical legal officers and the chemist to medical legal section of the Division of Investigation started the definite movement towards the creation of scientific crime detection laboratory. Then the last one is September 1945. The National Bureau of Investigation was created. I was organized with the Division of Investigation as a nucleus. The Chemical Laboratory of Medical Legal Section was expanded into a forensic chemistry. Then the next is Chapter 4. The scientific evidence. Evidence is a proof of allegation. It is the means sanctioned by law of ascertaining in a judicial proceeding the truth respecting a matter of fact. Corollary thereto. The scientific evidence may be defined as means sanctioned by law of ascertaining in the judicial proceeding the truth respecting a matter of fact wherein scientific knowledge is necessary. Such scientific evidence have such a relation to the fact in issue as to induce beliefs and its experience of non-existence. So evidence may be direct, indirect, which includes circumstances, evidence, and hearsay. So letter A is direct evidence. Direct evidence is that which the senses perceive any fact that which a witness testify based on what he saw, heard, smelled, touched, or taste in is direct. So in direct evidence is the meaning of the direct evidence is in the investigator based on what he saw, heard, smell, touch, or taste in the crime scene. Then the next is the circumstantial evidence is the kind of evidence which seeks the to establish a conclusion by inference inferences from facts proven. So the direct circumstances or circumstantial evidence is just like when you like quote in the act, mm, when you say the uh, when you say when you wait, when you say a person that they mm, nangawat in Bisaya is nangawat, then the third is hearsay evidence is the statement made by a witness or on the authority of another and not from his own personal knowledge of or observation. Hearsay is just like in Bisaya ay in Bisaya is chismoso. Chismoso. They base on the they base in their statement in what they heard about. Then the next topic is the chapter 6, drugs. Drugs is the drug defined. A drug is a chemical substance that bring about physical, sociological, behavior and psychological change in a person taking it. All medicines are drugs, but not all drugs are medicines. Medicinal drugs, a substance which, when taken into a human body, cures illness and or relieves signs symptoms of disease. So one one of my example in the medicinal drugs is that the just like nang, nang ginatake na tong tambal bitaw para maulian bitaw sa kanang ilanat and then the next is dangerous drugs, a substance affecting the central nervous system which when taken into the human body brings about physical, emotional and behavioral changes in the person. Dangerous drugs is example is this is ng shabu. One of the example of this is shabu or cocaine. Then drug abuse, any non-medical use of a drugs cause physical, psychological, legal, economic or social damage to the user or to the people affected by the user's behavior. Then there are two classifications of drugs. Number one is synthetic drugs. Drugs. According to the according to the origin, there are two classification of drugs. The first one is the natural drugs are active are active ingredients, secondary metabolic products, or plants and other living system that may isolated by extraction. So one of the example of the natural drugs is raw opium, marijuana, coca bush, kanang mga ng mga living system. Then the number and letter and the next is letter B, synthetic drugs are artificially produced substance synthesized in the laboratory for the illicit market, which are almost wholly manufactured by chemical compounds of illicit laboratory. Examples is meta, methamphetamine, methamphetamine, barbiturates. Then, what are considered dangerous drug? Dangerous drug is the substance affecting the central nervous system which, when taken into human body, brings about physical, emotional, or dangerous person. It is substance which, when taken into the human body, alters mood, perceptions, feelings, and behavior. Under the Republic Act 6425, otherwise known as Dangerous Drugs, the Act 1972, dangerous drugs classified into three main categories, namely prohibited drugs, then letter B is regulated drugs, then letter C is volatile substances. Letter A, prohibited drugs, which includes opium and its active components and derivatives such as heroin and morphine, coca leaf and its derivatives, principally cocaine, alpha and beta eucaine. Then regulated drug, which includes self-inducing sedatives such as secobarbital, phenobarbital, amobarbital, and any other drug which contains assault or derivative of assault barbitic acid, which contains salt, any salt isomer or salt of an isomer of amphetamine such as benzedrine or dexedrine, or any drugs which produce physical and physiological action similar to amphetamine and hypnotic drugs such as types of gunpowder. Single based, when basic ingredient is nitrocellulose. Double based, nitrocellulose plus 1 to 40% nitroglycerin. Then the number 3 is triple based, nitrocellulose, cellulose, nitrocellulose plus nitroglycerin plus nitroguanidine. That would be all. Thank you.